Hey everybody, I'm e.c.Pete. Welcome to my show. Today I'm going to talk about Fred Neil, who was born in 1936 and died in 2001. He was an American folk singer-songwriter from the 60s and 70s. He is not well known except by his songs that other artists have covered, such as Everybody's Talkin', a hit for Harry Nilsson, which was used in the Dustin Hoffman John Voight film Midnight Cowboy. He didn't like touring, but he did like dolphins. He was born in Cleveland and raised in Florida. His father was a sales rep for Wurlitzer jukeboxes. Neil traveled around the country with him and sometimes on sales calls. Neil found work songwriting at the Brill Building in New York City. At this time, he recorded a handful of rockabilly pop singles. His songs found their way to set lists of Buddy Holly and Roy Orbison and others. Neil had a deep baritone range. He usually played a 12-string guitar. For those of you who don't know, a 12-string guitar is basically the same as a 6-string guitar, except it's got sympathetic strings strung next to the main strings, tuned to an octave above the main tone, or tuned the same as the main tone, giving the guitar a chiming sound and more loudness. The neck is usually steel reinforced because of the added tension of the 6 extra strings. Neil was ensconced in the MacDougal Street, Greenwich Village folk scene in New York City. So many artists' seeds were planted there in the 60s. Some are Bob Dylan, John Sebastian, Richie Havens, Dave Van Ronk, Pete Seeger, Tom Paxton, Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Joan Baez, Peter, Paul and Mary, Phil Oakes, and Mimi, and brother Richard Farina all flourished in Greenwich Village until rock music inundated the folk movement, which died out by the end of the decade. Bob Dylan's first appearance there was playing harmonica for Fred Neil. Those were the days, my friends. In 1961, Neil met Vince Martin. They formed a singing duo. The album Tear Down the Walls went out in '64. The Bleecker and MacDougal album went in '65. And the Fred Neil album in '67. In the 60s happened on the East Coast too, pilgrims. I believe that is canned heat. Excuse me 1 minute. There we go. Some more Fred Neil for us. Some other artists that have covered Neil include Linda Ronstadt, It's a Beautiful Day, The, Billy Bragg, Tim Buckley, and the Jefferson Airplane. Their song The Ballad of You and Me and Pooh Neil was about Fred. As far as the dolphin research, Neil went all in with a project that began in 1970. This organization was dedicated to stopping the capture, trafficking, and exploitation of dolphins, which are highly intelligent mammals. Neil gave up his folk singing to focus on furthering the project. This is Floridian, Carolinian, and the islands of the Caribbean. Fred Neil, who had lived in Woodstock, left in the mid-'70s to spend his time on the shores of South Florida. His gigs would support the Dolphin Project, where he sought to spread word about saving the dolphins. Neil's last performance was in 1981 in Coconut Grove. There is a back catalog of Nilsson's released songs. A session with John Cipollina of Quicksilver is still in the can, buried by Columbia. Why? Neil died of natural causes from skin cancer in 1971. Everybody's Talkin' won a Grammy. Neil was an established artist in Greenwich Village when David Crosby showed up. Fred took an interest in him. He did the same for Bob Dylan. He taught me everything was music, Crosby wrote. In 1964, here's the discs and songs: Tear Down the Walls with Vince Martin. 65, Bleecker and McDougal. Here's the songs on that. Number 1, Bleecker and McDougal, I Wanna Go Home. 2, Blues on the Ceiling, very country blues. 3, Sweet Mama, and this guy is the real thing. 4, Little Bit of Rain, low voice, way down here. 5, Country Boy, this is the shit. City Blues. 6, Other Side to His Life. 7, Mississippi Train. 8, Travelin' Shoes. 9, The Water is Wide. This was a single. 10, Yonder Come the Blues. 11, Candyman. And 12, Handful of Gimme. And 13, Gone Again. Felix Pappalardi of the band Mountain, he played bass on the Bleecker album, and John Sebastian played harmonica. In 1967, the Fred Neil album won the Dolphins, Love the Vamp, the Tremolo, and the Voice. 2, I've Got a Secret. Didn't we shake Sugaree, Eliza Cotton, Not the Jerry Band? 3, That's the Bag I'm In. 4, Body Da. 5, Fare Thee Well. This is Fred's tune. 6, Everybody's Talking. 7, Everything Happens. 8, Sweet Cocaine. 9, Green Rocky Road. 10, Cynic Crust, Pete, Fred, John. It's a raga. Now we're going back to Canned Heat again. I'm not sure why that is, but oh well. See if I can fix that. Refried Boogie. I like Canned Heat. You probably do too, don't you? Sure you do. How about that one? So it's hard to find live footage of these older guys sometimes, you know. 67, the Sessions album. 1, Felicity. 2, Send Me Somebody to Love, Percy Mayfield. 3, Merry-Go-Round. 4, Love Over Yonder. 5, Fools Are a Long Time Comin', Herb Metoyer. 6, Looks Like Rain. 7, Roll On Rosie. There's also 6 compilations and 5 anthologies if you are so inclined. This is a guy who did his thing in Greenwich Village, and you know, I was only about 24 miles away. I was a teenager. I didn't really get into the Greenwich Village scene much. I certainly could have. Certainly went up to the 48th Street music store scene when I was a teenager back then, and that was pretty cool. Never saw a music store like Manny's, and Sam Ash was just down the block. I don't know if people know that, but you'd be sitting in Manny's or Sam Ash, and sometimes a famous face would just walk in and check out things. something to do. But all that time down in the village, there were things happening. Bob Dylan was getting going. All these other people, Crosby, of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. A lot of people were just hanging out, having a good time. Little did they know that the scene was going to die, but leave many, many memories in people's minds. They were going to take those memories and make a whole genre of folk-based rock music that is still really having its influence today. Thanks very much for being with me on my show. I'll look around for someone else to talk about. If you'd like to come back and see me, see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.